So stick around. Today we're going to be talking about how to have a quantum leap into your elevated era. And this is something that's been near and dear to my heart. Last week I did a masterclass around feminine and masculine energy, and it was all about how to really shift into the new version of you by harmonizing the two energies that are naturally within us, masculine, feminine. Today we're talking about quantum leaping into your elevated era. We're going to touch upon that. But I'm live here on YouTube and live on Instagram. So if you have questions that come up, drop them in the chat. I'm going to try to check the chat periodically. And then I may even pull someone up, and you can pick your preference if you want to watch me on YouTube or Instagram, either one. I'm live on both. Okay, so this all came about because I personally went through a huge quantum leap 4 weeks ago. And I talked about this in the masterclass around feminine and masculine energy, where I had this realization on Friday, August 16th, where I came into alignment with my two sides of myself, the masculine side and the feminine side. And if any of you have ever studied masculine and feminine energy, you understand that masculine energy, it's not a sexual orientation, or a gender type. It's an actual polarity of energies that operate in us. And what I mean by that is the masculine is system, structure, it's taking action, it's giving, it's taking charge, it's the sun, if you will. Like in nature, we have masculine energy that shows up. Feminine energy is resting, receiving, allowing, the moon, right? Intuition, creativity. So we have both of those energies operating within us. And so I shared in that masterclass how to harmonize those energies. And 4 weeks ago, when I did, I came into what I call a divine union. Now, I'm someone who is calling forth divine partnership, divine union. So it's what I mean by that is like a soulmate of sorts, but where you're whole and complete, they're whole and complete, and together you create a life of high consciousness, impact, just creation at a new level, right? So we touched upon that in the masterclass, and I also talked about how to have that kind of energy in business too, where you're coming into fulfillment and wholeness in business. Today, we'll touch upon it, but we're really going to dive into how to have a quantum leap. The distinction I didn't share in the masterclass that I'm sharing today is about shifting your identity around how to use the masculine feminine energies, leverage the gifts that they bring, and also shift your identity to the version of you that already has what you want. And so this has been something that's been wanting to channel through me. And so I kept getting the hit to go live. So you're with me live on both YouTube and Instagram. Hi, guys. All right, so let's get into it. So just a quick story. I ran into a friend last night, and he was telling me, man, Michele, I feel like I'm kind of struggling in business. He's in the development space and was wanting to attract specific clients, do certain deals, and was just feeling like he had kind of come up upon himself. He'd been successful with projects before, and something in this new phase of his life just he felt like he was blocked, right? And so you can relate this to love and relationships too. So just bear with me as I share the story because it's going to make sense onto what I had suggested. So he was like, I don't know how to attract the right clients. I don't know. Every time I take like 2 steps forward, I feel like 1 step back. I'll get close to attracting the perfect client for this deal, and then it falls through, and I'm just at my wit's end. And so he's like, I don't know what to do. So I was like, okay, well, first of all, you always want to feel what's alive for you. Like, when I say what's alive for you, whatever you're triggered by or feeling in the moment is what's alive for you. So you always want to do a check-in and go, okay, how am I feeling right now? Because you don't want to ever override your feelings, right? You want to make sure you're being authentic with how you feel and how you want to express in the world. Because the minute we start repressing our emotions, that starts to inhibit our creative energy. Okay. So I was telling him, all right, well, if you're wanting to have a quantum leap in this area of your life, meaning you want to move from where you're at to a new set point, to a new state, if you will, emotional state, you have to quite literally shift your identity because you're not going to, the same level of consciousness that got you where you're at now is not going to be the same level of consciousness that gets you to your next level. And he was wanting to go to his next level. So I was saying, first and foremost, feel the emotions. If you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling angry or upset, like you want to allow that. Next, once you do that and you acknowledge that, the next question you want to ask yourself, I was telling him, is what do you want? I know it sounds silly, but it's one of those universal, like, important questions. What do I want? Because the universe, source, God, your inner being, infinite intelligence responds to your energy, to your frequency. And so anytime we're putting our focus on something we don't want consistently, we're putting our energy, our life force, the consciousness, the light of consciousness, which is your consciousness, you're putting that focused attention on something you don't prefer. And I know that that is something, like, if something's bothering you, that's going to get your attention, so you're going to tend to focus on it, right? The brain is hardwired for survival. The brain is not hardwired for your success. It's hardwired for survival to keep you alive. And so it's always going to be looking for things that could be affecting you, right? So the challenge is, if you're wanting to make a quantum leap in your life and shift your circumstances to elevate to your next level, or to have a shift in love or in business, you've got to find ways to soothe the brain, which is trying to get you to survive, and move you into a rest, relaxation, like relax your nervous system, kind of regulate your nervous system. So the way I was explaining to him is, first you feel your emotions that's alive for you, then you ask yourself, what do I actually want? So that you can put your focus on what you desire instead of what you don't desire. Again, where focus goes, energy flows. We've heard that time and time again. There is something it's very important that we understand that, especially now, because time is speeding up. We're at a point in consciousness where you can probably tell your manifestations are either happening fast, or things that you don't prefer that you've been focusing on are tending to unfold. A lot of times we're just working out old thought patterns or ways of being. Some people call that karma, right? You're just allowing whatever was set in motion in the past to play out. That's the past. Anything you're experiencing right now or looking at right now, think of it this way, is the past, because it's just echoes of thought forms and feeling states that you had practiced that are now manifesting in your 3D reality. Okay. So, what I was explaining to my friend who wanted to have this quantum leap in his business, and he was like beating his head against the wall, trying to like operate at the same level of consciousness he's been at, I was explaining to him, you got to make that step up. So, once you feel your emotions, then you ask yourself, what do I actually want? Put your attention on what you want. Part of asking yourself, what do I want? Then you ask yourself, who is the version of me that already has it? Because here's the deal. If any of you study quantum physics, like I do, I totally geek out on this. If you study quantum physics, you understand in this universe that we live in, there's infinite potentialities, infinite possibilities. The works of Dr. Joe Dispenza, even Nikola Tesla talked about this. I mean, there's so much evidence that shows what we're experiencing now in 3D reality is just one level of consciousness. There's other levels and layers. And this is what I've been studying and devoting my life to the past 15 years, studying personal development, studying spirituality, studying ascension, studying love and relationships, right? Like, when you start to go down this path, which a lot of you guys already do, you understand that in the infinite quantum field, if you want to have a quantum leap, it's understanding that there's a quantum field of potentiality, meaning at any given time, any point in time, there's so many different outcomes that can occur. I'm getting the hit to share this with you. If you guys remember growing up, there were those books where you would finish the ending. I can't remember the name of them, but you would read the book and then you get to a part and you can choose the ending that you want, right? And so that's kind of how life is to a level. You're in co creation with God, the universe, your higher self. And so when you're in co creation, you, by your frequency, your energy, what you're vibrating, which is your thoughts, your feelings, your emotional state, the words that are coming out, your resting state, like these are states of being. The cool news is, to have a quantum leap, you are going to shift and permanently shift your state of being to a new level of consciousness that allows you to get different results, that allows your 3D reality to reflect back different um, outcomes, or evidence of a new reality that is more appropriate to match your frequency. So, as I was explaining this to my friend, I said, what you're going to need to do, or I invite you to do, is elevate to a new identity. So there's multiple layers and levels at which you can change your circumstances. You can shift your your actions. You can take action over and over again. You can take a lot of action, and eventually, more consistently you take action, you're going to start to become the version of that person that takes that action. For example, if you're someone who's just starting out working out, but you haven't really created that identity yet. So you just start taking action. You go to the gym every day. Over time, you're eventually going to have the awareness of, oh, I'm someone that works out. Whereas when you started that, you may not have that yet. Okay, so that's one level of shifting circumstances. You can take action, and eventually that will reprogram your mind. The second layer of that is you can shift your emotional state. So you can change your emotions, and you can actively focus on feeling differently, right? And then as you feel differently, you'll take different actions. Okay. The next layer, deeper than that, is shifting your thoughts and beliefs. If you shift your thoughts and beliefs about a topic or a situation, that's going to have you feeling a different way, which is then going to have you take different actions. Okay. So those are all valid and important, and you can do it just like perfectly that way. A faster way is if you go to the deepest level, which is your identity, your self concept, your self image. If you want to create real radical change and make a quantum leap in your life, it starts with you choosing to see yourself differently, to step into a new version of you, which, by the way, in the quantum field exists because there's infinite versions of you. The version of you that you're physically focused in now experiencing, that's one level of consciousness filtered through your certain beliefs, your thoughts, your paradigms, what you were shaped with as a child. That's just your programming. You absolutely can shift by just choosing a new identity and start to practice stepping into that. Because, by the way, if you have a desire, if you have this calling in your heart and soul for more, or you're getting images or visions or dreams that are causing you to want to do more, be more, have more, then there's a version of you in the infinite quantum field that's already existing right now that is calling you, just subtly whispering to you, if you will, nudging you, nudging you to step into that. So it's not a imposter syndrome. They're quite literally in the quantum field where everything, by the way, we already know this. Everything is energy. Science already shows us this. There's nothing in this existence that's not energy. I happen to believe that everything is God, everything is universe, everything is infinite intelligence, which is energy. So there's nothing that's not of the divine, right? So my belief, you'd have to try that on and see for you and see if that resonates with you. But that being said, if God is all there is, universe, source, infinite intelligence is all there is, and that's in everything, everyone, there's only ever energy that exists, just different forms, different frequencies of it, which appear differently to your eyes because your eyes and your five senses are interpreters of energy: sight, smell, taste, sound, feeling, sensation, right? So those are interpreters of energy. So as you know that everything's energy, there's only ever the point of right now in life. Like I think Eckhart Tolle wrote the book, the point, yeah, the power of now. There's not any other moment besides right now. So if you understand that everything is energy, everything is infinite intelligence, God, universe, source, whatever that resonates for you, that energy is in you as you physically focus through you. You are the one, your God, universe, life chose you to stream through you as you. Knowing that and knowing that everything's energy, thought is one of the highest forms of energy. You absolutely are in the now moment. You're never not in the now. 5 minutes ago was the now moment. Now it's the past. 5 minutes from now, we haven't arrived there yet. But it's when we do, it's gonna be the now moment. So when you understand that there's only ever the now, everything's energy in the quantum field of now moments, there is a possible outcome of you that already has the thing you want. So follow me with this because I know this is going down a bit of a rabbit hole of a backstory to understand this, which many of you might already understand this. This is just your reminder to tune back into your main character energy, being the one, in order to have a quantum leap. But when you remember this, you can choose an identity or a version of you that you would prefer, and put your focused attention on that and start to act, believe, speak, feel, walk as that version of her or him, because it's already in the field of existence. It's already a possibility. You just have to choose it. And you choose it by putting your focused attention on it. Now, what I was telling my friend, which started this story, who he was like struggling with business, I said, I'll give yourself permission to decide what you want, and then ask yourself, the version of me that already has that, what is he doing? How's he acting? How's he speaking? Because you can tap into that version of you and get the codes or the downloads or the awarenesses. Because by the way, right now, that version of you is nudging you, is trying to get your attention. That's even probably why you have the desire for the divine partner soulmate relationship that you're craving, or the business that you're deeply wanting to start, or the home or the car, or the kids that are calling towards. Like, you never know why, but you got to trust your physical body and like what you feel, and what is life calling you towards. So in order to have this quantum leap, I suggested that he go home, he get clear about what exactly he wants, and then write out what's the version of him that already has it. What's he doing, speaking, saying, talking? Like, what are thoughts that he has? What are beliefs that he has? And then I said, put the pen down or stop typing, and then close your eyes and meditate for like a couple minutes. Just take a couple deep breaths in and out, and tap into that version of you in your imagination. Actually, imagine with your eyes closed, imagine rising above your timeline, going into the future, say 1 year from now or 5 years from now. 5 years from now, version of you, go imagine above your timeline, floating down into that version of you, looking through your own eyes, hearing what you're hearing, seeing what you're seeing. What is it that that version of you is doing, seeing, speaking? What do they know about love and manifesting a beloved, if that's the vision that is being shown to you? What do they know about the next level of business success? Because what you can do is access in the quantum field, you can access information, wisdom. You can tap into your future self and bring it into the present moment. It does require you to, number one, feel what's alive for you right now, because you don't want to suppress or repress your emotions. Once you feel what's alive for you, and I'll give you a quick story, you'll then ask yourself, what do I actually want? Because where focus goes, energy flows. And your power of focus is the light of, like, your consciousness is your power, the light of truth, the light of God, the light of the universe, whatever you want to call it. Wherever you're putting your consciousness, that's your currency. Your attention is the most valuable currency, because where you're putting your focused attention expands, it creates. Okay. So once you do that, then you just allow yourself to come into stillness, take a couple deep breaths in and out, close your eyes, float above your timeline into the future 5 year version of you, and start to ask her, what does she know about the things that you're desiring now? Because the 5 year or the 1 year version or the 5 year version of her or him already has the thing that you want. It's that version of you that's calling you forth. So in order to have a quantum leap in your life, it does require you to allow yourself to flirt with a new identity, to rise to that new version of you. And you can do that by tapping into the future version of you that already has it. Now, just a quick story, what I shared in my masterclass last week. I shared the story that 4 weeks ago, I had this whole divine union moment, meaning I had been asking Source, God, to bring forth the next level version of a relationship that's aligned with my highest self, with what life wants and is choosing for me through me. And what it led me to was coming into divine union within myself, harmonizing my masculine and feminine energies, realizing that my whole life I was living separate from both of those aspects of myself. And so I had this beautiful divine moment. It was like supernatural. And I lots of tears, ugly crying on my couch, of like realizing how much my inner masculine side, the side of me that needed to protect, provide, the feminine side of me, the creative receiver of things, like the provider and the receiver, they hadn't harmonized in me. So I couldn't actually, nor would I want to, attract a relationship that's outside, outside of me, until I came into union with myself. So when I did, I worked through, and I'll do another live stream about this. This is what I did the masterclass on, but I worked through the core conflicts of the masculine and feminine energies. This shows up in everyday relationships, but it shows up within yourself and the core conflicts of the masculine energy, or the again, we're talking about energy. We're not talking about gender. But the core conflict with the masculine energy is not feeling enough, feeling inadequate. And who knows? I know I have felt that throughout my life. This is why I teach, and this is why I teach this and got into coaching and teach people about how to be the one, because it really is about coming back home to yourself, your own self-love, your connection with your creator, with realizing that you are the one. But then the core feminine wound is feeling like you're too much. So these two polarities, those are the wound sides. Now the those are the shadow sides, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you're too much. Now, the beauty of both the shadow side, to every shadow, there's a gift, right? So if you're fully embodied in your divine masculine, divine feminine, the masculine is about action, it's about providing, it's about expanding through action. The feminine energy is about being, okay? And it's about allowing it. And when that aspect of you is able to rest and be, you can expand into more. And then the masculine energy side of you can then fill and provide that. Now, what I was finding through my life, and I talk about this in my masterclass called Quantum Leap in Love and Business, was about how when the masculine doesn't feel enough, like when the feminine aspect of yourself is wanting more, desiring something, you know it, right? I'm talking to YouTube here and Instagram for those of you joining after, but so I'm talking to both. But feel free to drop questions in the chat, and I'll bring someone on if you want to go live and chat here in a little bit if you have questions about this. But so what you must understand with masculine feminine energy is that the masculine expands through action and the feminine expands through being. I learned this through Adam Roa. He explained this really well, and it like made everything click for me. So if the masculine aspect does not feel like it can provide for the feminine aspect, and we're talking about within yourself, these are energies, not genders. This does show up in partnership. So in my masterclass, I talk deeply about how you can use these understandings to bring into a highly conscious relationship. That the um, the exchange of energy within yourself operates this way. If the masculine part of you can't fill the desires of the feminine because you feel inadequate or not good enough, or you don't have the resources, or you feel like you can't figure it out, well, then that part of you will shrink and not take it will go into inaction. Then the feminine aspect of you, which has these desires, which wants to expand, will contract and feel like it's too much. Like that version of you is being too much and doesn't want to hurt the part of you that is unable to fulfill. And so that version contracts and you're not being in the fullness of you. And then the other part of you is not taking the action. This is what we call resistance. But this is also how we grow. Resistance is not a bad thing. It's like you go to the gym to do resistance training. That's to help you strengthen muscles. You know you're going to do resistance training to strengthen your muscles so that you can get better, improve, grow. But for some reason, when it comes to resistance in life, emotionally or mentally, we like retract and get scared. But the fact is, when resistance shows up in either of your energies, feeling like you're too much, like on the feminine side, feeling like you're too much, or in the masculine side, feeling like you're not enough, the call to action in that moment is for the masculine side, if you're feeling like you're not enough, move into action. Obviously, feel whatever's coming up. Don't deny it or ignore it. Feel it. And then ask yourself, okay, well, I'm the one. I'm the creator of my reality in co creation with Source, with the divine, with God. As the one, how could I look at this differently? How could I reframe this? What could I do to get into action? Maybe put a plan together, maybe seek out a coach or a resource, or do some research about something to help me fulfill the desire of my feminine. Okay, so you get into action. Then the feminine part will start to feel filled up because there's momentum. What then, in order for that version of you, the inner part of you, the feminine side, to get past feeling like you're too much, you must move through that resistance and hold the line. You must stand in your power of bigness, of enough, of an extra, of expansion. I say, own your extra. Because when you do, it causes the masculine side to move through its resistance to fill you up. And as that feminine aspect is filled up, it feels safe, it feels secure, it feels fulfilled. So then it will be, and in that state of being, that's how the feminine aspect expands. And then that part can expand to even more and give rise and give birth to desires of more. And so it's this beautiful dance that happens between masculine and feminine energies. If we don't understand that, then we get stuck in the resistance, because when you hit not feeling enough, feeling unlovable, feeling unworthy, like you hit that the masculine core conflicts there, you're going to stay stuck. If you hit the I feel like I'm too much, I feel like it's overwhelming, like I want these needs to be met, but I need to contract and get small. That's the resistance of the feminine. It's understanding those so that you can move beyond it and continue to grow. That plays out in relationships. It also plays out in business. So, quick story, when I had my divine union moment within myself where these two energies merged, I realized I had been co-creating experiences where people, by the way, your relationships are mirrors, reflections, and projections of what's going on within you. Relationships are here to help you grow. My belief is that we are souls having a human experience. The soul's path is here to grow, to experience joy, to remember itself as an all-powerful creator. The only way to do that is to be able to have a mirror or reflections to help you show what you are or what you're not, so that you can decide and declare who you choose to be. And so the way you do that is with relationships. And so in that, relationships become this beautiful divine tool for your greatest growth, for each other's greatest growth, for the evolution of the planet, for the ascension of the soul. So when you understand all of that, that's where harmonizing your masculine, feminine energies within yourself first, because as within, so without, as above, so below. So whatever is going on within you is going to be projected. So here's what I realized 4 weeks ago. After I had my divine union moment, I realized in business, for my whole existence of being at the workplace years ago, with my business, with entrepreneurial collaborations and clients, I kept manifesting, I kept attracting, feeling not enough or inadequate or not good enough, or whatever I was doing wasn't enough. It was the core masculine wound that kept reflecting to me for me to heal it. But I didn't understand it, so I never healed it. What was being reflected in relationships, and I had this awareness 4 weeks ago, what was being reflected in relationships was my too muchness, as the feminine side of me was feeling too much, that there were certain relationships that showed up that my bigness, I felt like was too much. So I had to retract and contract. And so I would feel like I would dim my sparkle, or not speak my voice, or not share my truth. And this is all recent. So what I did after harmonizing my two energies, I set everybody free. All business lines, any clients, any men, anything that that was projecting, reflecting back to me those core wounds. When I healed them, I just had such love and appreciation for self. And I told myself, I got your back. The masculine's got my feminine side. My feminine's got my masculine. So I came into wholeness. And from that wholeness place, I said, I do this through a cord cutting exercise. You could do it through Ho'oponopono. But I set the intention to set everybody free that was showing me or reflecting back or projecting or mirroring those wounds. And when I did, 4 days later, this was a quantum leap. My life reorganized itself. Certain work situations shifted and dissolved and transmuted, and all friendly, all great. Certain clients shifted away, new ones came in. In the relationship realm, there was a shift in how I was relating in relation to men, all within 4 days of doing this incredible process. So I wanted to come on live here on YouTube and here on Instagram and share with you guys, at any moment, you can have a quantum leap to elevate to your next level. I talked about it in the beginning of this live stream, where what I shared with my friend, like, first feel what's alive for you. You don't want to override your emotions, because when you just feel it, it moves the energy. Ask yourself, what do I actually want? And put your focused attention on that, because that is telling you that there's a version of you. When you listen to your heart, actually listen to what's true and feels good in your body of what you actually want. That's going to inform you of a potentiality in the quantum field that you can tap into. And the way you do it is you just kind of close your eyes, come into a meditative state, and allow yourself to have I always say, go to your future self. Go to the version of you 5 years from now, drop into that state of you, seeing through your own eyes, hearing through your own ears. Like imagine embodying that version of you and talk to her or him and get the codes, get the awarenesses, and then bring them back with you and start today. Show up as the version of you that already has the thing that you want. Start to tweak your words, start to walk as that version of you. And that is how you have the quantum leap. Um, I want to mention this. When you go through a quantum leap, you also, it opens up the shift of having what they call a quantum crumble or a quantum reorganization or a quantum acceleration. So you got to be prepared. Like I said, 4 days after, my life reorganized itself once I came into harmony with myself and I set the intention, God, whatever's not for me, release it from me lovingly and gently and replace it immediately with what is. So when you give rise to those kinds of intentions and you shift and clear and heal the parts of you that everyone or aspects of your reality are playing roles for you, it's amazing what shifts. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment. If you want to come on live, either on Instagram or on YouTube, then just either drop it in the comments uh, or I think just ask to come on live. So see if let's see, someone has a question. Okay. Something about feeling. Feeling is the key. Feeling is the secret. Someone was saying so the question is, when there's something that's disturbing their peace, there's such like prominent emotions, intense emotions. And so they're saying, how do I navigate through the intense emotions? Okay, beautiful. So your emotions are not a bad thing. Like you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions. You are you're the divine source consciousness. God is streaming in you as you through you. Your life choosing itself to come through you to have an experience. And you're in co-creation with that. So remembering you're not your emotions, remembering you're not your thoughts. You can observe your thoughts. You can imagine them as like clouds drifting by. Your emotions, you just want to feel them because again, your emotions are it's just an indicator of what you either were thinking about, a belief system, or something that you observed that didn't resonate with your true source or your soul, what like life knows or what the universe knows is true for you. And so you need to process those emotions. So the best suggestion or advice I can give for that is go sit down on the couch and just feel them. Like just be still or stop what you're doing if you can and let yourself feel. Let the emotions come through. You don't need to put thought around it. You don't need to create a story around it. You don't need to make it mean anything except you're just feeling what's alive to just move the energy. Once you move the energy, it shifts completely. And then you can have access to new thoughts, energies, feeling states. The fact is, it's kind of like one of my mentors once used this analogy. Remember back in middle school where we had in the lunch line where you would go take a tray and then go get your milk and your meal or whatever. Well, if the tray, and then it would be retractable. So like once you took a tray, the next tray would pop up for the next person. But what happens if there's a dirty tray on top? Well, you can't, I mean, that tray's dirty. You don't want it, but you have to pick the tray up and move it in order to get to the clean tray. It's the same thing with our emotions. You need to just be present with what's alive for you. Process it in a healthy way. There's different embodiment techniques and practices, energy clearing practices that I've taught. There's tapping, there's different emotional release techniques. I do a process called mental emotional release technique, MER, or timeline therapy when people work more closely with me in breakthrough sessions. We'll use that. I use NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, to help you reframe and realign your relationship to certain thoughts and emotions. You can do breath work. I do breath work. I'll do body movement. I'll dance. So there's all kinds of things you can do. And honestly, I will go sit down on the couch and just go feel. Quick story, something earlier, I've been emotionally, like something's going on. I don't know if there's because the full moons today, I don't know if something big energetically is clearing, but I have been feeling probably since my quantum leap, the quantum reorganization has emotions and grief that come up around that. So that's something important to know when you're growing through a quantum leap to make sure you give yourself the spaciousness to feel and to grieve. It's very real. Grieving is not just with like loss of, you know, a job or someone we love or whatever. Grief comes from beautiful things that happen too. When I manifested my beloved, my previous beloved years ago, it was what I was focusing on for 2 years. I was calling him in. And when I finally manifested him, I went through an identity shift and that created grief. So when you have a quantum leap and you actively shift your identity, and honestly, like I suggest, shift your identity first. That will cause the quantum leap. That's actually what I did before I had my divine union moment. I set the intention that I'm aligning with more impact and influence, seeing myself as a greater version of myself. And I started writing out that identity and that I'm in divine union partnership and blah, blah, blah. And then that caused me to have my divine union moment within myself with masculine and feminine energies. Then 4 days after that, work reorganized, life called me to my next level of how I meant to express and serve people. Different personalities and people shifted in and out of my reality. So when you do recognize that the quantum crumble and reorganization and quantum acceleration comes when you're shifting identities and you need to grieve the version of you that once was and let that be okay. So I've been very emotional the past couple weeks, but specifically this last week into this week. And I'll just let myself cry. I'll let myself feel. I'll go sit down on the couch and that's all that's required. I'll sit down and I could feel maybe sadness is coming up. So I'll just put my hand on my heart and I'll say, all right, baby girl, what do you need? Right. And, whatever you need to do to soothe yourself. And I'll just let myself feel the emotion. Once I feel it, the wave moves. Now I have access to new thoughts, new feelings. It becomes very cathartic. And so it's kind of like that lunch tray example that I shared earlier. It's like once you take the dirty tray off, the new tray can come up. So I've even seen amazing things shift in my reality. I do a lot of quantum work. Like I don't necessarily just work with linear time space anymore. Like at this stage in my consciousness and evolution, and maybe you're experiencing this too, or if you're watching this, maybe you're just about to get into using alchemy and being able to shift timelines and go into parallel realities just based on thought, shifting your identity, allowing yourself to have more and be more because that's what's calling you. So anyway, earlier today, I was feeling it. So I went and sat down. A wave of sadness came up. I let myself cry. And on the other side of that, someone I hadn't heard from in a while called me. I moved the energy. I came into neutrality around it because I was just feeling like stress around it. I was concerned for them and I had other stuff coming up in my reality that once I just sat with the emotion and I felt it, I let it move. And then I stepped back into the identity of the one, the main character energy, right? Who you really are, the great I am. And I just was breathing through it. And then once I breathed through it, I said, okay, here's what I do want. Here's the reality that I choose. And I then detach from it, right? I state what I want. I put my focused attention on whatever's in the highest and best good for all involved, let it align. And then I release it. And then I say, God, I'm giving it over to you. And whatever you believe in, whatever higher power for you, source, spirit, infinite intelligence, God, whatever that is, turn it over. And then I let it go. And within 30 seconds, that person called. Like I couldn't even make this stuff up if I tried. So quantum leaps happen all the time. It's a shift in perspective. It's a shift in consciousness, but ultimately it's a shift in your identity until you then become that version. And that's your new set point. So if you have any questions, any more questions, drop them in the chat. Hopefully that answers your question here about emotions. When there's intense emotion, feel through them. Use practices like breath work, tapping, movement, body embodiment, and other things, mental emotional release technique, timeline therapy, anything to help you. But ultimately, feeling it is healing it. So feel it, then you can move into a space and a state that's going to support you. All right, let me just check Instagram. Hey, guys. Hey. All right, great. YouTube. All right. Well, that concludes today's transmission. I just wanted to come on live with both of you, with Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and share this with you. And if you have any questions after the fact, just drop them in the chat. All right. Till next time, guys. I'll talk to you soon.